Wednesday, we went over Ohara Connections, which is a powerful resource to use using, I would say, a plethora of APIs integrations that allow you to really tee up an app in seconds. And with the help of Modu, it really becomes a really streamlined process for builders to be able to go from 0 to 1 and reducing that developer time of using these API tools and really being able to really build these on-chain apps. And today we'll be talking about MVPs, because this session will connect to Monday's session and really understanding how to really build your MVPs. What are the do's and don'ts? And what does it mean to have an MVP nowadays? As I mentioned earlier, MVPs, I think that has changed. I often say MVPs plus MVUs. So MVUs is minimal viable users. And I think in the time that we're in with vibe coding and being able to prototype efficiently and quickly, it's a no-brainer now that yes, MVP matters, but also users matter as well, as they are able to shape your product as you continue to build. So without further ado, I will share my screen here. Awesome. So building MVPs with Ohara, all right? So what is an MVP? And again, I want to preference that I really do believe that MVP really does look differently depending on where you're building, right? It could look different on a different vibe coding platform, but for Web3 primarily, I think that the traditional MVP is usually the minimal viable product, where the smallest version of your product provides the least amount of value. It's something, right? There's 1 or 2 or 3 features that work, but still need some iterations to make this product work. Now, on-chain MVP, it's really your first step into decentralized applications that are being built on-chain. And the distribution, it's really all on-chain. Whether you're distributing this on Farcaster, if you're distributing this on Base or on Ohara, there's a lot of distribution on-chain, a lot of eyes, right? But I think what makes this a lot different is just that Web3 twist, where you're able to connect wallets and build communities around this, right? Communities that really care, not just users, but just communities that want to be able to see your build grow and really create a value that users own, right? Not just to consume, but to actually being able to be immersed with that experience. And if you're able to provide an experience with the flair of Web3, I think that's what makes your product exciting. That's what will make users to continue to use your product, especially on chain, right? And I really do believe that MVPs with Web3 has a significant twist versus Web2, because you're able to really transact and in a really fun way, right? You're able to build apps that are fun, but also have this spin to on-chain connectivity. Whether you're, let's say, for example, I just built a Web3 checkers game where you're able to bet your, I guess, your play, right? Let's say you bet $1, that $1 goes to the escrow. If you win, you earn that dollar back. But if you lose, that dollar goes into the smart contract where it pulls all these funds, and the next player that comes onto play, they can bet $3. And if they win, not only they win the $3, but they also win that $1 that was in escrow, right? So you're able to really build these really robust apps that are fun on chain, and you can distribute them again on Farcaster and on Ohara and soon on the Base app. And that's what that true meaning of MVP is from a Web3 perspective. You're able to spin up these apps in a matter of minutes. And I think that no longer becomes an MVP, because now you're now shooting for, all right, well, what are the minimal viable users I can attract now by building this MVP? Now, the traditional thinking has always been that you need to build this in 6 months. I think now having these platforms like Ohara, you can really prototype this today. As I mentioned today, I honestly was bored and I was like, you know what? I got 30 minutes to spare between my calls. Let me just build a checkers Web3 edition game. Once I publish it, I'll be more than happy to share it with you guys. And this prototype is now a build, right? I will go ahead and get feedback from community members who will use it and then iterate on that, right? You no longer need that 6-month time frame. Ohara makes it so easy for you, especially with the API connections and all the connections that they provide. And if you miss Wednesday's session, please reach out to us so we can send you those resources, because there are a lot of connections that you can use in Ohara. I think that notion, right? For me in 2021, like my biggest concern as a builder was like, wow, I need to learn how to like build Solidity. I like build on Solidity or build like on these like programming languages because I want to build a dApp. And I think now that shift has happened with Web3 vibe coding, and Ohara makes it a lot easier now to have like SDK ready, right? Having builder kits ready, on-chain kits ready for you guys to just really plug and play. We're really shifting into a plug and play environment where it really makes it a lot easier to prototype, iterate, ship, and kind of continue that loop. And it's really fun, honestly. I have about like 45 apps under my belt using Ohara. And it's one of those things, if you understand user flow, user journey, and if you understand product, it becomes a lot easier. You're able to create a lot more user stickiness for your MVPs. That notion of like, I need a full team, I mean, you probably do for some nuances, right? But like as I mentioned, like I've built like 44 different apps, just really testing the waters, and I've done this myself. My CTO is Modu. I speak to Modu when I need help, and with this new upgrade with Modu, I think it makes building honestly 100 times easier versus when I first started using Ohara. I want to say early April. So that notion of like I need a full team to kind of just try this, you don't. You have Modu, you have pre-built connections, you have community, and you have support. Just build. So what makes a great MVP? Ideally, what makes a great MVP is what is that one problem you're trying to solve, right? I think too often we try to theoretically think of like 10 problems and try to solve it at once. And I think one of the biggest issues in crypto is that we tend to try to solve many issues at once. But what really makes a great MVP is that if you're able to solve one problem, do you have something valuable there, right? You're able to now solve this one issue where users can use your product or community members can use your product and then scale that solution as you go on, as you get that feedback. I think it's really important that you really focus on that one frustration that your community members have, whether it not be a frustration or whether it be something that it's missing in the Web3 space. Focus on that. Don't focus on 10 other theoretical problems that don't even exist yet. Focus on that one issue. Foster that one issue because that is going to be the winning one. Being able to see the user's benefit in less than 30 seconds, I think it's honestly important because you're able to really deliver value immediately, right? If the users are able to see the benefit in less than 30 seconds, your app is a game changer, right? It's the journey from a user when you're building, once they get onto your platform, once they get onto your app, if they're able to see the value in less than 30 seconds, you're creating user stickiness because now that user, it's programming themselves now to go ahead and say, yo, I really love this app. I want to come back again and again and again. So think about that it factor as to what is going to make your product different from every other dApp that's out here that is going to create that user stickiness, right? And maybe that's maybe that's rolling out different phases of your app, right? Maybe in phase one, you create something that it's like viral worthy and now users are on it, right? But that same product is not always going to work long term. So you're going to have to evolve your product, right? So make sure you deliver that value immediately, but then also iterate as you start to grow, as you start to see users and community members really love your product, iterate on that, right? Talk to your community members, see what they like, see what they don't like. Um, because once you're able to validate your hypotheses, that will teach you something, right? Whether it validates it or invalidates it, it's still going to teach you something, right? Because within that, there are lessons that you can apply onto your product that will make your product 10 times better. Um, and I truly do believe that one of Ohara's superpower is that it really lets you test faster than ever before. And I think that's one of the reasons why I continue to use the Ohara product. Because for me as a builder, if I have an idea, I can just quickly talk to Modu. Modu will implement the plan. I could play around with it. If I don't like it, then it's back to the drawing board. So that overhead cost is a lot lower, and that barrier to entry to building an app is again a lot lower. So that's what really makes a great MVP, alongside with having the tools. Having the tools is important, and Ohara provides you all of that in one suite. I do also want to point out, I don't think a lot of people know this. And if you're new here to the stream, welcome. One of the cool things that I really like, that has been updated on Ohara, is the fact that you're even able to like prompt it to get images, prompt it to get videos. Like, what I want builders to start thinking about is, how creative can I get with all these tools, right? Whether it's a meme, whether it's like whatever it is, you have capabilities now to not only create your own promo, your own, videos, your own images, your own generators, like whatever that is, like you have that all in one suite. And that's what really makes Ohara really powerful, that you have all these tools integrated, almost like a suite, right? A suite of tools for you to really build a Web3 dApp. So let that sink in. Um, if you didn't attend Monday's or Wednesday session, um, feel free to come through on Monday. We're working on really good stuff here, and I really do believe that using this product will really surprise you and blow you away. So shout outs to the builders that are already in camp. If you're not in camp and you're watching this on X, come through, join us. We're having fun. It's a builder summer, and we're here to build. So the Ohara MVP philosophy, right? So the traditional thinking of MVP is like, what's the minimum that I can build? But as we know, this software, this platform has made it to where it's, what's the maximum value that I can deliver now with the minimum effort. And when I say minimum, I'm not saying that you don't have to put all your effort in, but because you have all these tools and you have the assistants, the AI assistant, which in this case is Modu, it really creates an impactful product for you to go ahead and distribute to your community members. And I think that's like the aha moment that I had once I started using Ohara, right? When I first had used it, I was blown away, right? And this was back in April when we didn't have Modu. So what I would use is I would use like ChatGPT or Claude as like my soundboard. But there was a lot of disconnect, right? I think with having Modu implemented into Ohara, there's a huge connection. There's a huge maximum value that you can extract from Modu. And in being able to extract that maximum value, you can input that in your product. You can input that while you're prompting. And I think that's where that creative shift happened for me, where I'm able to now bounce off ideas and extract that value and implement in real time while I'm talking to Modu. So those key shifts, right? From resource scarcity to creative abundance, it's really like night and day. Because I know for me, I've always wanted to build something, right? But unfortunately, I like that technical uh, knowledge, right? So in me not understanding the technical knowledge, a lot of the resources were scarce for me. I think now we're going into a phase of like creative abundance and having a lot more resources, where resources are not scarce and you're really able to think smarter. You're able to choose what is the right API that you want to integrate, and you're able to build faster. And I think that with Ohara, I know for a fact it really will activate a lot of builders into the ecosystem who want to play around with all these different tools. And I'm a true and firm believer that Ohara will change the landscape when it comes to dApps. Because for so long, we've always questioned, okay, everybody's building L1s and L2s, and everybody's building network infra, and everybody's building, platforms and this and that, right? But the true builders are us. The true builders who want to build for each other are us. Um, and I think that's going to be like the next leg up for builders, thinking about how we're going to distribute and create an ecosystem of really fun, immersive, viral, mimetic apps that we want to use on a day-to-day basis. So there's a 5-phase MVP framework that for me has worked tremendously, right? So one is the spark, right? What is that one thing that you just always think about and you just don't know what it is, right? And to really spark more of that idea, what is the problem that you're solving, right? I want you to ask yourself, what am I solving, right? And for who am I solving this for, right? Who feels the pain or who wants to use this, right? And why now, right? What about today that is a lot different from 2 years ago, right? Because narratives change over time, especially in Web3. Narratives change a mile a minute, right? So what made this change, made this possible, and why the urgency, right? I want you to think of that when you're building your MVPs with Ohara, right? And then next, try to think about what's that user journey. And when I say user journey, I'm not saying to map out, okay, I want the user to log in and I want the user, no. I want you to take me through a story, right? What is the purpose of your app, right? When I come in there, what is going to be my first experience, right? Is it going to be a landing page? Is it going to be a login page, right? I'm not saying per se map out exactly what features you want to implement, but more or less, what is that story you're trying to paint, right? What is that scope? What does success look like for that user when they're done using your product? And really being able to capture that the first 30 seconds they get onto your product, and maybe less, right? Because attention is really short nowadays, right? Maybe 15 seconds, right? Within that time frame, what do you want the users or the community members that you have, what is the outcome? And then the capabilities, right? Choosing that stack, right? And when I say stack, I don't mean like regular tech stack. I mean within Ohara, using the different APIs, right? And again, if you attended Wednesday session, I told you about Ohara connections and how you're able to use different APIs and use them in a stack, right? So what is that stack that you're going to use? Because that is going to be your superpower, right? That is going to be your capability to really enhance your product, right? Whether it's using on-chain kit, third web, and let's say, for example, OpenAI, right? If that's your stack that you're using with Ohara, what are you going to build with that, right? Think about these things. Think about the features, right? Think about what exactly, right? From user journey, now think about the features, because that user journey is going to dictate what your features are, right? So think about that. And then implementation second. Don't try to implement right away. Think about what features do I want on this, right? And I think the beautiful part about this is that Ohara slash Modu really, it's able to really suggest you the tools and the capability that you need to build out this app. So when I say think about it with Modu. I think it becomes a lot easier when you're just bouncing back and forth about your idea, because as you're talking to Modu, it's able to pick up on your nuances and what you really want to build. And then once you're done, you're able to just say, hey, let's build, right? So use Modu as a soundboard. Use Modu as someone who you're just really just talking to really understand, what am I really building? Now, if you know what you're building, cool. But if you really need an extra push, use Modu. Modu, it's such an excellent resource, right? So ship, right? So building with Modu, which is the AI assistant that we have here, you're able to really deploy immediately, right? And iterate constantly. One of the cool things that I really like about Ohara is that it really fosters that builders community where you're able to go into an app, comment, see what other people are saying. Like I want more people to use that feature because that's there for a reason. That's there to really iterate on feedback and what people like, what people don't like. And I think that being able to use that, it's a really cool advantage for you to build your product and your app, right? When we look at all these other different vibe coding platforms and you're pretty much shipping it, to get that feedback, you have to go on X, you have to go on Reddit, you have to go on Facebook groups, right? Ohara makes it so much easier for you to just ship and then put that feedback right on the site, right in that same website, right? Like right below the app, you can comment, right? You can see what people are saying, right? Take that feedback, right? Especially in camp, guys. If you're in camp right now, put comments under each other's project and say, hey, I like this, hey, I don't like that, right? Make it impactful, make the feedback impactful. Don't try to bring down other builders, try to uplift builders. I think that's really the key here. And that's the reason why that's there, right? To really uplift all the builders, to really get a sense of what are you building, why you're building it, and this is how you can make it better. So I, as a community member, can continue using your product. Um, yeah, really users over perfect code. Nothing is perfect in this world, but I think the wonderful part about building is that if the community members are able to resonate with your vision, that's gold. Use that, keep that, use that momentum to really iterate on your product. And once you're building and shipping, right? It's a continuous loop where now it's up to you as a builder to study community behaviors, right? What are the community members are doing? What are they not doing? Why, try to really engage with what the metrics are or with what the community members are saying or the users. Where are they getting stuck? Where do they get excited? Uh, you really have to immerse yourself with the community members and ask these questions because again, that is going to really shape your product. It's going to shape your app. Um, I I think that sometimes we get so caught up in that momentum of like, well, I just want to ship, 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 ship. That sometimes you're just shipping into the abyss of nowhere, and you want to be able to ship to the right people because if you ship to the right people, they are going to be your echo chamber and they're going to be the ones advocating for you and saying, hey, I just use this really cool app, you guys should try it out, right? That's how it happens, right? That's how viral apps happen. Making sure that you're building for your community, not for yourself only. So we're going to touch a little bit on this today, and then we're going to go into a deeper realm of user stories on Monday. Now bear with me one moment, I am parched. um User stories, right? User stories, if you're not familiar with that, what that is it's more or less a product management method or methodology on how to communicate with engineers on what you're trying to build, right? Like, what is that flow? And when you're vibe coding now, that user story now becomes a prompt. And instead of saying build a crypto app, which is really vague, right? You want to be able to incorporate that user profile, who you're building for. So for example, here we have a prompt where it says, as a college student, that's the user, I want to split dinner bills using crypto, the solution, so that I don't have to deal with Venmo fees and delays, the problem, right? User, solution, problem. Once you integrate that into your prompt, Modu understands what you're trying to build at that point. Now, the advantages is that, again, AI understands, and when I say AI, Modu understands the context immediately and is able to provide you the tool that you need, whether it's different API integrations, whether it's on-chain kit, whether it's third web, whether it's OpenAI, whatever those capabilities and stack that you're trying to build for, it will provide you and suggest you those resources. Um, I think it really makes it automatic, right? Like it's a no-brainer when you're building, and making this automatic, it really enhances not only your productivity, but also your creativity and being able to now be agile, be flexible with what you're building. Really concentrating on a builds user focused solution rather than a tech focused solution. So that's the user story magic formula, right? Users, problem, solution. That's the formula. So some of the common pitfalls and solutions for MVPs. I know for me, when I first started to build, one of the biggest thing that I harped on was like it needs to be tech focused. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be polished. But as a builder, you know, that was really not, it's not ideal, right? When I first started to build, and especially with like vibe coding, it was in February. I was building like HTML pages on OpenAI, and I always said, man, I need to just learn the technology first. I need to just, I need to learn this first. I need to learn this first. I need to learn this first, right? You do. You absolutely do need to learn it, right? But I think sometimes we over fixate on the learning rather than just like learning and applying. But when you have a tool like Ohara, it really allows you to handle the tech and then you focus on the vision. Um, it really is a powerful tool to where you're able to let your ideas flow, capture your ideas, and let O'Hara build it for you, which makes it a lot easier to distribute your ideas, your concepts, your MVPs, because again, you have the resources, you have all these different APIs, right? I was doing the math on it, and I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but with all the APIs that they provide you, you're looking at a pretty hefty bill if you were to individually try to get all these APIs alone, right? And that was something that when I was vibe coding on different platforms, that was something that I was like struggling with a bit because it's like, wow, like I want to integrate so many different tools, but it's a hefty bill at one point. And with Ohara, it makes it so frictionless that is for me, it's a no-brainer to continue to use this platform to build, right? One of the biggest pitfall that I've experienced is, well, it's not polished enough to show anyone. It doesn't matter. Rough and valuable over polished and useless, right? Like if it's rough and valuable, I would much rather play around with that app rather it being really polished and beautiful. And then when I click on connect wallet, it doesn't even work. I much rather have this rough draft that I can use 2 to 3 steps in versus a well polished platform that again I cannot do anything on. So think about your rough drafts, right? Think about how it doesn't need to be polished or perfect because again, show this to your community members. They are the ones that are going to give you that feedback. That loop is important for you to continue to grow and scale your app. Launch it when it's perfect. I struggle with this a lot. Um, I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but I truly do believe that sometimes certain things should be perfect. But in this world of building and in this world of how fast things go, especially with technology, right? Like GPT-5s came out yesterday. Ideally, sometimes we don't have time to be perfect. We just don't, because again, technology moves so fast nowadays, especially with AI. I kid you not, like had I waited on all these different apps that I built on O'Hara, like the apps that I built in April will probably not be the same in today's world. And when I mean today's world, I mean in August, right? Because again, the ecosystem moves fast, the technology moves fast, it evolves over time. And if you continue to wait for that perfect moment, you're gonna let all these tech, all these tech bros and all these builders get ahead of you, right? Just launch it, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect is the enemy All right. Perfect is really truly the enemy. One of my friends really pushed me and pushed my boundaries in just shipping, getting that feedback and having an iteration loop. Just ship it, build it and ship it, build it and ship it, right? And then get that feedback and continue that continuous loop. And I promise you that that is what is going to make you a better builder. Um, I struggled with this one too. Users don't understand my vision, right? I think sometimes we get caught up in this, like, oh, this is my vision, this is my app, right? But none of that matters. Your vision does not matter, and I'll tell you why, right? As harsh as that sounds, your vision does not matter when you're building an MVP, because it's not about you. It's about your community. It's about the users you're building for. Their their problems do, right? Their problems matter. So how are you going to build towards that? What solutions are you building towards that? Whether it's a game, whether it's a platform that you're building, whatever that use case is, it's a problem, right? And it may not seem like a big problem, it may not seem like a little problem, but what is that use case that you're building for your community, right? Not just yourself as the visionary, but for your users and community members. And I think that's really important, because that's what makes a successful app, building for your community members. Now, granted, if you're going through that same problem and you're saying, hey, let me build this because I'm going through this and I'm pretty sure there's 10,000 other people going through the same thing, then cool, right? But if you're just solely focused on the vision of the app versus like the problems that you're trying to solve, you're going to hit a lot of ups and downs. So focus on the problems, because problems equal solutions, and that's where products are made. So when to pivot versus when to persevere, right? So I would always say that don't fall in love with your product all the way in if you feel like there's a bumpy road, but understanding different signals on when to now pivot from that product is important as well, because you also don't want to waste your time in building something so phenomenal and then no one uses it, right? So some of the pivot signals to really understand when you're building your MVP is, well, users understand what I'm trying to build, but they are not engaging with it, right? If they're not engaging with it, then there's something missing, right? And that's up to you to figure out with your community member, your users, to figure out, well, why is it that you don't use my app? Or why is it, what about it that you're not, gravitating towards it? What is it that it doesn't resonate with you, right? There has to be like an emotional sentiment at the same time when you're using certain products. We don't use products just to use products. We use it because, one, we like it. Two, it solves a pain point in our lives. And three, it could be either fun or is a great way to kind of kill time, right? So it's like, what about it is not allowing me to be fully immersed, right? Even ask yourself this question, right? What about my product that is not allowing me to be fully immersed with my app or with my product, right? Building features doesn't increase usage, right? If you think that, okay, well, if I'm going to continue to build on this product, and you think that, okay, well, I'm not having that many users, let me continue to build features, that's not going to increase usage. If anything, it's going to create confusion for your community members. Um, I go I go hard for this saying, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? Keep it simple. Because the more you build features and your users are not acclimated just yet with the original features that you have built, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be a big learning curve for your users and community members to continue using your product or your app. Um, and then last but not least, if you're the only one excited for this and no one else is excited, just pivot. Just pivot. It's okay. I've built apps where, like, oh yeah, this is cool, this is exciting, and no one else was excited for it. And I'm just like, okay, why am I still doing this? Right. And I think it's okay. I think before it was such a it was just such a like a I wouldn't say a taboo, but it was just so I would say back then, let's say like 2 years ago, it was really hard to just say, all right, well, I'm going to abandon this project because, I have no users. I think now is a lot easier to do that because you're able to prototype a lot faster. Back then, there was just a lot more cost, a lot more time invested. Nowadays, if you're building an app within a week and you don't see traction, or you don't see like that stickiness from just even from your social peers, then sometimes it's okay to just pivot, right? It's okay to just maneuver and go elsewhere. Right now, here's some signals that you're doing great. Right, users love it but want refinements. If they want refinements, that's a really great thing, because what that tells me is that they're invested. They want to see your product grow, and they're not just in it for the short term, they're in it for the long term. So if you're getting feedback and you're getting community members saying, hey, I think you should really add this, or I think you should add X, Y, and Z, take that. Don't take it for granted, but take it. Right, immerse yourself with the users, immerse yourself with the community members to really understand what exactly do they want. Right, because not everyone is the same. Everyone has different mindsets on how they go about things. So you have to be careful on the playing field on how you're going to now add like all these different refinements, so it doesn't throw everybody off, right? But if you're getting that same consistent refinement from everybody else, you're doing something right. Um, Growth. If you're growing, but you're growing slow, but you're growing consistently, that's important. It's super important, right? Whether it's fast or slow, growth is important. And the way to measure that growth on Ohara, one of the key ways is honestly, you can see the number ticker on how many people use your apps, right? I think that's an important metric if it goes up. And then also, if you do plan on launching your app with a ticker or with a coin, you get to see that trading volume, right? I think one of the coolest apps that I've seen thus far, that I've been like blown away by. It's really, and actually, Slava, you're on the call. It's really radio. Radio has taken me back, and every time I go on there, I am super, super, super impressed with how the evolution of this app has come about, right? So clearly there's growth in that app. Clearly there's an emerging market for this, right? And how do you continue to build now, right? So that's a question for Slava, for him to think about, like, hey, I have something here, right? How do I continue to grow this cool radio app over time? And when I say radio, it's literally a radio on chain. How do I continue to grow and baby this app for users to continue to use it day by day, right? And for him, this may be a clear path to monetize, right? Maybe it's not, right? Maybe he just wants to keep it free, right? But the key thing is that the metrics are there, the data is there, the growth is there. So now it's up to you as a builder to think about, what is that next phase of my app? Build in public. I'm gonna say this again: build in public, especially for all you campers that are building in the camp with us. Build in public. I need to see more. All right, I need to see more in the timeline. And if you're posting, make sure you tag me at Sir Stacks, because I want to see what you're building. I want to see what is it, that one thing that excites you the most, because I want to be there for you, right? I think building in public, especially while building your MVP, it keeps you accountable and it keeps you shipping. I think it's an accountability thing more than anything else. But I think it's also where you get that early feedback from people, right? Whether it's your peers, your followers, right? Community members, you get that feedback in real time. You're able to iterate, right? I think before, if you were building in public, it would be super hard to like iterate that feedback because you're doing everything manually. You're working with a dev team or a dev shop. Now you're able to iterate in less than 20 minutes and iterate that feedback and say, hey, I fixed this, let me know what you guys think, because your community becomes your first customers. Whether they're paying or not paying, those are your people, right? And I think one of the coolest things about building in public is that it builds trust, it builds transparency. One of the biggest hurdles in Web3 is trust, right? I think we can all agree that one of the biggest hurdles in Web3 is trust. And if you're building in public in Web3, using Ohara, it's a no-brainer. It's really a no-brainer. And I think what makes it even a lot easier is that you can literally build on Ohara, ship on Ohara, monetize on Ohara, and then you can even record your build on Ohara. So it's again, it's a full suite platform where you really it really enables builders to build. And I'm not saying this just to say it, but I truly do mean that, because if you go on my page on X and also on Ohara, like I record, I share my builds, I share with the people, right? And if something doesn't stick, then that's okay. Maybe it was just in my head and I just thought it was cool, right? And maybe it's something for me to use, right? But just build in public. There's nothing wrong with building in public. If anything, it will help your app grow. And as I mentioned, Ohara makes this easy by the quick demos that you're able to record. You can save it on your page, and then you can also download it and upload it on X. That rapid iteration based on feedback, I'm going to continuously say that because I think that's such an important factor when you're vibe coding and you're building on these platforms. And it's ideally it's professional in a lot of ways, right? It's professional because you're really showing people your talent, right? You're really showing people what you're passionate about and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis that is enabling you to say, hey, like I'm building this product and check it out, right? That is your resume. It is your resume of builds. You know, take pride in that. Be prideful and be happy that you're, you know, in a space where you're able to build something in a matter of days rather than months. So your MVP action plan. So if you're in camp and you're listening right now, this is your MVP action plan, right? This is your homework for the weekend, because in Monday's session, we're going to deep dive into more of the user stories, the prompting. We're going to do a deeper dive on your problem statement, right? So your MVP action plan for this weekend, it is to write your one sentence problem statement, right? What is that one thing that you want to solve? Whether it's a game, right? Boredom, whether it's more on-chain games, whether it's, you know, more community focus platforms, like whatever that problem that you're trying to solve or whatever that problem statement is, write one sentence, keep it in your pocket, right? And then identify 3 people who may have the same problem. So maybe put out a poll on X. And if you do put out a poll on X, tag me, tag Ohara, SERSTAXX. That is my X name. And then tag Ohara. I want to see, how are you going about this, right? How are you polling people? You can poll people on Telegram too if you're on Ohara, or Discord. Like, I want to see action. I want to see how you're going about building your build. And then sketch the 3-step user journey, right? Paint that story for me. What is the first step? What is the second step? What is that third step? Right? And what in each of those steps, what are the outcomes of each of those steps? I want you to really think deep about this. And if you need help, there's a community in Discord that is more than happy to help you. And then you could also ask Modu. Modu's a really, really insightful person if you don't know. So use Modu to your advantage. So this is your homework. Take a screenshot. I will send this presentation out by, I want to say by the end of today, early tomorrow morning. But if not, just take a quick picture of this. This is your MVP action plan going into Monday, because Monday we're going to be building, right? This week was all about remixing. Next week is all about building now, right? Momentum. You guys have the lay of the land. You guys understand what's what. Now, next week is more or less building, using different user stories to really build a impactful app. All right. You're not just building an app. All right. I'm gonna say it again. You're not just building an app. You're validating a hypothesis, right? You're learning about your different users and your community members, right? Users are different. One user may like one thing, but you have to find the middle for your users, right? You're developing a product intuition, right? For some people who have not vibe coded or have not used these AI platforms, they probably have zero knowledge on product, on how product works, right? So you're building that intuition, you're developing that in real time. And that's a really powerful skill to have, right? You're practicing the skill of shipping, but also prompting, right? I think one of the biggest hurdles for me when I first started vibe coding was just like the shipping part, right? Like I would have so many apps that I would not ship. The art of shipping is important, right? Because you're practicing this skill of like putting yourself out there now. And I think that's sometimes is one of the biggest hurdles for developers is really putting themselves out there, especially as a vibe coder and saying, hey, like this is my app, check it out, test it out, give me the feedback, right? It may sound as easy as that, but sometimes it's hard. And I get that because I was once there, right? So because I was once there, I built that confidence in being able to say, hey, I think this is a really dope app. Check it out. If not, cool, right? But you also have to be confident in what you're building. So you're also building that skill as well. And last but not least, you're building a habit of iteration, right? I think thinking of like a one and done approach, you should not think like that. You should think of, well, how I'm going to continuously make this better, right? Because not every app is perfect, right? I mean, if you can look at right Chat GPT, right? Do you really think that they were going to just stop at Chat GPT 3? No, they didn't stop at 4. They won't stop at 5. I promised you that. I'm pretty sure 6 is right around the corner, right? So it's one of those things where like they're iterating that feedback, right? How can we make this better? How can we make this better? That's how I want you to start thinking about. Like make that habitual, make that your habit of iteration, because that is what's going to make your product shine and have stickiness. Alrighty, this is for Monday session. So we're going to be talking about a little bit about prototype to production and what does that look like. Talk a little bit more about user stories. So make sure you guys are signed up for Monday session. There's 180 people watching live right now on X. To those 180 folks, if you're not in camp, make sure you sign up for camp ASAP. Put it down in the comments if you want to sign up, because there's a lot of resources that you can get from this. So for those who are in camp, the recording will be sent out to you automatically alongside with all the slides and the transcripts and everything that you need to build. On top of that, I think early next week, I'm going to be sending out just a list of prompts that I have built over time. So you guys can use that and, test it out with your own build. And then Monday, we are building. That whole week of Monday through Friday, we are building. We're developing what is going to be our app that we're going to ship. So with that being said, I know there's a couple of people. Let me just double check if there's anybody on this call. Oh, this okay. There's a couple of folks on this call. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions, but I would love to answer any questions you guys have, or anybody in the live stream right now. If you have any questions, please be more than happy to answer any questions. So this time is for that. I know we have we have some time actually. So yeah, we got a couple of minutes here to kill. So anybody on the call or on the stream, if you guys have any questions, please feel free. Yeah, I could do that. I could definitely do that. I could show you guys one of my apps. Let me go here. So I have a lot of apps. I'm gonna be honest with you. So as I mentioned, I have a lot of apps, guys. Too many apps. Too many apps. So Castify. So Castify is like an app where you can create your own like podcast music. That's like one use case, right? So you put like what is the name of the podcast, and you can select what like that vibe you're going for, and it generates you a podcast song. So that's Castify. That's like one simple but honestly powerful app for podcasters who may not have the time or bandwidth to look and seek what's, what song they want for the intro song. Um, what else? What else? What else? Little boo boo AI. I have so many things here, man. Okay, this was a pretty cool app to build. So Jeter AI, it's ideally an MLB stats analyst. So if you guys love to gamble on baseball, then this is your you know, this is your MLB intelligence platform ideally. So it really takes all of yeah, it has Exo Search, Firecrawl, and a OpenAI GPT for analysis. So I use that stack to create this platform. So you can ask about just about anything. Um, Ask how many home runs does Otani have. You can search it, and then it'll give you how many you know home runs it has. Right. So like think about like what exactly you want to build. For me, if you love baseball, this is for you. Right. That's that user that will use this platform. Right. Um, let's see what else. Let's see what else. Multi builder. Cage Mind is also ideally the same thing, but for MMA. So if you are a big MMA fan, this one is for you. This Vent Dump. Wow, I've really built a lot of apps. This is insane. Um, let's see. Let's see. Okay. So this was a productivity app. Again, I'm just showing you different things that you can build so you have an idea of like what can I build. Not everything has to be on chain, but it will be dope if you can integrate a layer of like on chain activity. So I created a Pomo board, which actually this became an app that actually built outside of Ohara. So this was like the prototype that I was like, hey, I want to build like a productivity tool where you're able to have a Pomodoro, have your Kanban board or your project board, and then you're able to like work on things, right? And honestly, this was like the first initial prototype that I had. Create wireframes, and then boom, right? So once you're done, you can add that here. Like it's an actual productivity tool. Like it legit works. If you want to use this for your, to plan out your builds, please go right ahead. Um, it works. It really does work. You could also have your notes here where you can just type, et cetera, et cetera. And again, a lot of the builds that I built were a couple of them like not on chain. A couple I did do that were on chain, and I'll show you those now. So this one is on chain. I think I showed this one to the last class. Uh, it is rate me. So rate me ideally is like it the AI rates your decisions, and then you can turn your life decisions into tradable meme coins. And then AI will give you an analysis out of 10, and it'll give you a custom ticker, and then you're able to deploy on Clanker. So the way it works is, let's say, for example, I went to a concert, and I did not go to a concert, by the way. I'm just taking this scenario that happened in real life. I went to a concert that Coldplay played in and got caught with a mistress. Right? And then AI will think. Terrible, terrible decision. Caught with a mistress at Coldplay concert. Talk about being caught under the sky full of stars in no responsible way. Next time, maybe prioritize your integrity over a live performance. Ouch. Right? And then what you can do is you can click deploy on Farcaster. It will automatically take you to Farcaster, and then like it will deploy there. I'm not signing up right now just because it's going to take some time, but you guys get the idea of being able to just do like these cool little apps, um, and go from there. I'll show you guys one more. What's another on-chain one? This is on-chain. CoinFest is on-chain. Also did, there was another one that I did on-chain. Degen Factory is another one. Yeah, it's a meme launcher. So you ideally describe your meme idea and then you just launch it. So again, this was used with Flaunch, OpenAI. What else did I use? Launch, OpenAI. I feel like I used something else. But I'm showing these examples so you guys have an idea of the possibilities of the things that you can build. I'll show you guys one more. That was cool. I actually like. Okay, this was like my most viral app, Coinplexity. Coinplexity was doing numbers at one point, and life happened. You know, I pivoted. Not because it was a bad idea, but because I started building, like actually building other apps outside of Ohara, and you know, I just got caught up. But this was a very, very, very cool app that I built on Ohara. A lot of people love this. This was like one of the first apps that like really went viral for me. Um, you can literally exit anything, and it will. Okay, gotta add the API. You know what? I'll do that over this weekend. I gotta re-add the API because it's been so long since I played around with this app. But Coinplexity, it's an AI research platform for crypto. I use Exa for search. I use X AI, and then I also used, I want to say Perplexity for this as well, and Firecrawl. So I used 4 APIs for this. So just so you know, like how much went into this. So this was like a really like this is something I probably spent, I want to say a week, like really going in on this. Just because a lot of people were using it, and I saw the value in this. So I'll fix it. And if you guys want to remix this, please feel free. Feel free to remix this. Um, because I think it's a pretty dope idea to have like a mini app where you're able to have conversational AI and also get value and data all in real time. So whoops. See what happens. All right. And then again, if you're not familiar with the app with Ohara, you can record so you can see all of my apps here. Which one is this one? Oh yeah, Fact Checker. I forgot about that one. So Fact Checker is ideally an app where you can check facts and it'll tell you if the claim is right or wrong. So this one is like, I think I put coffee reduces heart disease by 30% and analyzes that for you and analyze the claim. It'll, you know, and then it's disputed confidence, meeting confidence. The claim that coffee reduces heart disease risk, but it's not fully supported by available evidence in a consistent or universal manner. So it really fact checks a lot of the things that you input this. So I call this app checker. Maybe I can add some on-chain kits on here where for every time you want to use this, you pay a small fee, right? Like just showing you guys different ways on how to build these different apps. So I think for this one, I use OpenAI, XAI, and I think Exa Search, if I'm not mistaken. So I use 3 APIs for this one. So, so yeah, with that being said, make sure you guys sign up for the camp if you haven't signed up already. For those who are in camp, you guys will get all these resources. And that is all. I know you guys don't have any questions, but feel free to DM me. Feel free to shoot me a message. I am open and available. I'll be in the Discord checking some of the builds out. And if you guys need feedback, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to be of guidance and support in this journey. Super stoked to be here again. If you don't know me, my name is Addy, aka Sir Stacks. I go by the Vibe Code King. And if you guys want to go ahead and interact with me, make sure you follow me on Twitter or just shoot me a DM on Discord. Cheers. Happy Friday. Building onwards. Shout outs to all the builders that are in camp. Again, if you're not in camp right now, it's never too late. Sign up for camp, and I'll see you there. Peace.